Hello, Senior 1. Today we're having a grammar lesson from Unit 7, OL Health and Safety. Modal verbs. Today we're talking about modal verbs of advice, obligations, and necessity. We can use should and shouldn't for advice. For example, you shouldn't sleep late, it's bad for your health. We also use it for suggestions. For example, we should have lunch break together. We can also use should with think and suggest. For example, I think they should change the color of the school logo. I suggest people should work more hours these days. There are other expressions for giving advice. Had better plus infinitive. Had better in the negative form can be had better not plus infinitive. Don't say hadn't better. Also ought to, and in the negative oughtn't to. Don't say ought to not. I advise you to do something. I advise you not to do. Don't say I don't advise you. Another expression, my advice to you is to do something. It's advisable, the adjective advisable. It's advisable for you or for us or for her to do something. The opposite, it's inadvisable. Inadvisable to do something. If I were you, I would. It's important to do. It's important not to do. Don't say it's not important. It's important not to do. The last two expressions for advice, instead of should, you can use it would be a good idea to, or it will be a good idea to. The negative, it wouldn't be a good idea to, it won't be a good idea to. Can we use advice in the past? Can we make advice in the past? Yes, but it expresses the meaning of blaming. It expresses the meaning of blaming something. So when we use the past form of advice, we blame others to make them feel guilty or sorry for something. The form is should have plus the past participle. We also use shouldn't have plus past participle. What is the difference? Should have past participle, shouldn't have past participle. The first one, it was wrong to forget my book. It was wrong to forget my book. To express this meaning, you can say, I shouldn't have forgotten my book. So it was wrong to forget. I shouldn't have forgotten my book. Did I forget my book? Yes. Do I feel sorry? Yes. The other meaning, I should have called my parents. Did I call my parents? No. Do I feel sorry? Yes. It was wrong not to call my parents. So when you use should, it means it was wrong not to do. When you use shouldn't, it means it was wrong to do. So when you use should, it means it was wrong not to do something. When you use shouldn't have past participle, it means it was wrong to do something. Both ways are forms to blame someone for a wrong action. Obligations and other usage of must and mustn't. We use must and mustn't for necessity. For example, it's necessary to study hard. We also use it for warm invitations. Tomorrow is my birthday, you must come. For strong advice, you must stop smoking to keep healthy. For also strong feelings, I must buy a present for my mother's birthday. For lack of necessity, you can use mustn't to express prohibition. when you talk about something dangerous or against the law. You mustn't park your car here. You mustn't smoke in hospital. We can use other expressions to express lack of necessity like forbidden, banned, prohibited, and they are all followed by to infinitive, except you are not allowed to do something. You are not forbidden. You are forbidden to do something. You are banned to do something. Remember, you cannot say you are not forbidden, but you say you are forbidden. But you can use you are not allowed. Lack of necessity in the present, needn't plus infinitive. Never use to after needn't. Doesn't need to. Doesn't need to plus verb. Don't need to plus verb. Doesn't have to plus verb. Don't have to plus verb. All of these expressions express lack of necessity, or it's not important to do something. Lack of necessity in the future. Won't have to, won't need to. I won't have to study tomorrow. I finished my exams. So for lack of necessity in the future, you can use won't have to, won't need to plus the infinitive. I won't have to study tomorrow, as I said, because my exams are finished. More on necessity. We can use have to, has to mean necessary. For imposed obligation. You broke the law, you have to pay the fine. You don't have to take the exam twice. So if you have done something against the law and there is a kind of obligation that is imposed on you, you can use have to, or the speaker uses have to or has to. Necessity in the past. There are two confusing expressions you have to look at when you express necessity in the past. You can use didn't have to or needn't have past participle. Didn't have to means it wasn't important, so it wasn't necessary to do. I did not have to go to school yesterday. Needn't have plus the past participle means it was not necessary, but it was done. For example, I did not have to go to school yesterday. It was not important, so I did not do it. Or it was not necessary to do it and I didn't do it. Needn't have past participle means it was necessary but it was done. You needn't have brought your umbrella. It's not going to rain. But actually, you brought your umbrella. You did the action, although it was not important to do. Let's look at this exercise to revise what we have done. For example, number one, I write to my brother. I haven't written to him for long. This is something related to feelings or related to inner obligations or duties. So I must or have or have. Of course, the question here is clear. Have needs to and you don't have it in the question, so you use must. I must write. But if you have to and must, use must for strong feelings or inner obligations. 2. Mana's eyes are not good. She wear glasses for reading. It's my advice. So she ought to. Another expression for should, ought to. Number 3. This is a military area. You to photograph anything. It's not allowed at all. You aren't allowed. You aren't allowed. If you have mustn't, it's okay, but you don't have it in the choices. Number 4. We don't have much time for the train. We hurry. Needn't, may, mustn't, must. We must hurry because it's necessary. Number 5. The baby is asleep and I want to do the homework. You mustn't shout. needn't shout, must shout, should shout. You mustn't shout. Why? Because it's not good. It's not a good idea. It's not advisable. So it's kind of strong advice from a family member, maybe. You can use you mustn't shout. Here it's not a law, it's not a rule, but it's a strong advice from someone close to you, like your mother is advising you to do something. She can use must or mustn't instead of should and shouldn't, because the advice is from someone close, like a friend or family. Number 6, students forget their teacher's instructions, or they will be punished. Students forget their teacher's instructions, or they will be punished. So it's a class rule. Students mustn't forget. Mustn't forget because it's a class rule. Number 7, you don't have enough money for this expensive jacket. You look for a cheaper one. I suggest. When you have suggest, use should. You should. I said in the explanation before the exercise, you can use should for suggestions. Number 8, it's really a good film. You go and see it with your family. If it's a kind of a recommendation, you can use must, but actually we don't have must here. So what can you use? Ought without to, impossible to use. Advise needs an object, and we don't have an object. Should to, should never takes to. So you had better go. Had better takes the bare infinitive without to. Had better. It's like a piece of advice or suggestion. 9, he suggested that we go to the park to have fun. He suggested that we mustn't, needn't, must, should. Suggested should. We should go to the park to have fun. Number 10, you talk to your mother like that. It's impolite. If something is impolite, it's against what is accepted in the society. For example, you can use mustn't, because it's forbidden, it's prohibited to talk to your mother in an impolite way. 11, when you come to Cairo again, you must come and see me. This